Hey everyone, welcome back to RJK English. We're going to finish Siddhartha Chapter 9. We've already gone through, Siddhartha at the river, meeting the ferryman. Time has gone by. He's learned from the river. We've seen these themes of Siddhartha keep coming back. Then we hear that the Buddha is dying, and all of these monks are coming by, and Kamala comes back. She gets bitten by a snake, and she's dying in the hut, and her and Siddhartha are talking together, and Siddhartha realizes that he has a son. Okay, this is RJK English here. This is the Facebook page. You can check this out, and I can talk to you through this. You can get more information. I can do lessons. Maybe that you want to understand more from Siddhartha or something else. Hit me up here. But make sure to like and subscribe here so that people get to see these videos. Okay, let's finish this up. Kamala indicated her son and said, "Did you recognize him too? He is your son." Her eyes wandered and closed. The boy began to cry. Siddhartha put him on his knee, let him weep, and stroked his hair. Looking at the child's face, he remembered a Brahmin prayer, which he had once learned when he himself was a small child. Slowly and in a singing voice, he began to recite it. The words came back to him out of the past in his childhood. The child became quiet as he recited, still sobbed a little, and then fell asleep. Siddhartha put him on Vasudeva's bed. Vasudeva stood by the hearth cooking rice. Siddhartha looked at Vasudeva and smiled at him. "She is dying," said Siddhartha softly. Vasudeva nodded. The firelight from the hearth was reflected in his kind face. Kamala again regained consciousness. There was pain in her face. Siddhartha read the pain on her mouth, in her pallid face. That means the blood was out of her face. He read it quietly, attentively, waiting, sharing her pain. Kamala was aware of this. Her glance sought his. Looking at him, she said, "Now I see that your eyes have also changed. They have become quite different. How do I recognize that you are still Siddhartha? You are Siddhartha, and yet you are not like him." Siddhartha did not speak. Silently he looked into her eyes. "Have you attained it?" she asked. "Have you found peace?" He smiled and placed his hand on hers. "Yes," she said, "I see it. I also will find peace." "You have found it," whispered Siddhartha. So now we get an inkling that Siddhartha is closer to enlightenment here. Remember, that's his goal, to be like the Buddha. "You have found it," whispered Siddhartha. Kamala looked at him steadily. It had been her intention to make a pilgrimage to Gautama, to see the face of the illustrious one, to obtain some of his peace. And instead she had only found Siddhartha, and it was good, just as good as if she had been with the other. Now we see that Hesse is comparing Siddhartha and the Buddha. Okay? There's something. Siddhartha has achieved a higher plane spiritually. She wanted to tell him that, but her tongue no longer obeyed his will. She wanted to tell him that, but her tongue no longer obeyed her will. Silently she looked at him, and he saw the life fade from her eyes. When the last pain filled and passed from her eyes, when the last shudder had passed through her body, his fingers closed her eyelids. He sat there a long time looking at her dead face. For a long time he looked at her mouth, her old, tired mouth, and her shrunken lips, and remembered how once, in the spring of his life, he had compared her lips with a freshly cut fig. For a long time he had looked intently at that pale face. For a long time he looked intently at the pale face, at the tired wrinkles, and saw his own face like that, just as white, also dead. And at the same time he saw his face and hers, young, with red lips, with ardent eyes, and he was overwhelmed with a feeling of the present and contemporary existence. In this hour he felt more acutely the indestructibleness of every life, the eternity of every moment. Indestructibleness, not able to be destroyed. When he rose, Vasudeva had prepared some rice for him, but Siddhartha did not eat. In the stable where the goat was, The two old men straightened some straw and Vasudeva lay down. But Siddhartha went outside and sat in front of the hut all night, listening to the river, sunk in the past, simultaneously affected and encompassed by all the periods of his life, like the river, right? The river is encompassed by all times, just like he was experiencing right there. From time to time, however, he rose, walked to the door of his hut, and listened to hear if the boy were sleeping. Early in the morning, before the sun was yet visible, Vasudeva came out of the stable and walked up to his friend. "You have not slept," he said. "No, Vasudeva, I sat here and listened to the river. It has told me a great deal. It has filled me with many great thoughts, and with thoughts of unity." "You have suffered, Siddhartha, yet I see that sadness has not entered your heart." This is a key here. The idea of experiencing suffering but not holding on to it, not having it truly affect you deeply. That's the idea of this enlightenment, right? Do we believe this is the right way to live? I don't know. You have to decide. I don't totally agree, but there we go. "No, my friend, why should I be sad? I who was rich and happy have become still richer and happier. My son has been given to me." "I also welcome your son. But now, Siddhartha, let us go to work. There is much to be done. Kamala died on the same bed where my wife died. We shall also build Kamala's funeral pyre on the same hill where I once built my wife's funeral pyre. While the boys still slept, they built the funeral pyre." This is a stack of wood where you burn the body. If you go to Varanasi in India, and there's other places like this too, you will find the burning ghat. Ghat is where you go down to the water, and at that place they burn the dead bodies. And in Hinduism, they burn bodies. In many other places they do too. In old Viking times, they burned bodies. So yes. So that's the end of chapter 9. We have 2 more chapters to go after this, and you will have completed a book in English. All right. See you next time.